What's up guys? This video is going to be the most in-depth stretch resolution tutorial that you will ever find for Apex. I'm going to do my best to cover everything. I'll be showing you guys how to play any resolution that you want. It could be 1728 by 1080, 1440 by 1080, even 1080 by 1080 if you wanted that. I'll show you how to fix the UI on very stretched resolutions. I'll show you guys how to properly display scale your resolutions for less input delay and a clearer image. There's just so much stuff in this video, so make sure you guys stick around for all of it. You don't want to miss any of this. Real quick before I get into it, if this video does help you, please remember to leave a like and a comment. It helps the video out a ton. But what are the pros of stretch resolution? The first and most obvious is that it gives you more FPS and less input delay, so your game is going to feel a lot more smooth. Second thing is that hitboxes also appear a little bit bigger because they are going to be stretched, so it could potentially make aiming feel a little bit easier for you. So that's why I've been using it for so long. I'm going to show you a few different ways to do stretched res. I'll show you guys how to do it through the Nvidia control panel for just a normal 16 by 10 resolution, and also any other resolution you want to play. You know, maybe you want to play 4:3, 1440 by 1080, or maybe you don't want to go that stretch, you just want to play 1600 by 1080. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And for the more advanced people, I'm also going to be showing you guys how to force display scaling properly with custom resolution utility. As I said earlier, it gives you slightly less input delay and a much clearer image. So for the hardcore players who want the absolute best of the best, that method is going to be for you, but that'll be a little bit later on in the video. First up, I just want to talk about the Nvidia control panel. This is the method that'll work for probably like 95% of the people watching this video, and it's what I used to. I used to use CRU, but having to switch my resolution every single time I wanted to play the game was just starting to become a headache. So if you guys want that ease of use and almost the exact same performance as display scaling with CRU, then this is going to be the method for you. First, we just want to go into our Nvidia control panel, so just right click, hit your control panel. First thing, no matter what method you're doing, you want to make sure your scaling is set to full screen, and you want your perform scaling on display, and then check override the scaling mode set by games and programs. This is going to be the best option, but I guess if you guys maybe want slightly faster alt tabbing, or if your monitor doesn't have the best display scaler, you can do perform scaling on GPU. Technically, both options still perform the scaling on the GPU, even though it says display, but for most people, display scaling is going to be the best option, so choose that. Make sure full screen is selected, then come down here and hit apply. Then you apply changes, you hit yes. Next, we're going to go up to the change resolution tab. Make sure your main monitor is selected, and then come down here, customize, and click that. We're going to check enable resolutions not exposed by the display, and then create custom resolution. So I'm going to be doing a couple of different resolutions just to show you guys. The first one I'm going to be doing is a normal 16 by 10 resolution, where we're going to be doing 1728 by 1080, which is what I'd recommend most people play on. It's just stretched enough so that you get those benefits, but it's also not too stretched to the point where your game starts to look really ugly. So we don't want to mess with anything down here. The only two things that we would change are these two options right here, your horizontal and vertical, but we're only changing horizontal for this resolution, so we're just going to put in 1728, and then 1080 is already there. Then hit test, then you just want to hit yes to apply the changes, and now that resolution is saved. We're also going to be doing one more resolution so that I can show you guys how to play any resolution you want. Once again, click create custom resolution. The one that I'm going to be showing you guys is 1600 by 1080. This is also another really good res for Apex, but you could put anything you want in here. You could do 1440 by 1080, 1350 by 1080, 1280 by 1080, literally whatever you guys want you can put in here. But for the video, I'm going to be doing 1600 by 1080. Once again, hit test successful, apply the changes and hit yes, then come down here, hit OK. And then that's it for the Nvidia control panel. Now we're going to change the resolution in our video config files, and it's super easy to find our video config. You just come down here to the search bar and type in saved games, click on that, go to respawn, Apex, local, and it's right here, videoconfig.txt. Just right click, go to properties, and make sure you guys aren't on read only. Then let's just open that up. And I personally prefer to change it in here rather than in game, because when you change settings in game, it re-enables all of those shadow settings that I have set to be disabled to get higher FPS and better visibility. If you guys have watched my settings videos before, you know I've talked about that. I've showed you guys how to do it. So what we want to look for is setting default res and setting default height. The first one I'm going to be showing you is the normal 16 by 10 resolution, 1728 by 1080. Then I'll show you guys 1600 by 1080 or any other res that you guys pick, but I'll do that after this because there are a couple of extra steps to it. So we just want to come here, change our res. I'm doing 1728 by 1080, so I just put in 1728, 1080. Once again, already there. So just come up here, hit file, save. Once you guys have that done, you just come up here, go back into properties, and then check read only, apply, and okay. So if you are doing 1728 or another 16 by 10 resolution, there aren't any extra steps. You should just be able to boot right into the game. So we're going to try and do that. I'm going to boot up Apex, and as you can see, 1728 by 1080 is working fine. I'll just open it up real quick to show you guys. And here we are at 1728 by 1080. And now for those of you who are wanting to use a more stretched resolution like 1600 by 1080 or 1440 by 1080, I'll show you guys how to do that now. Once again, we're going to go back into our video config, and the res that I made earlier for for the video purposes is 1600 by 1080. So setting default res, I just changed that to 1600, but you would change that to whatever res you're using. If you're using 1440 by 1080, enter in 1440 or 1350, 1080, whatever res you're using, just put that in right there. File, save, X out, and come back in here, go to properties and check read only, hit apply, and then okay. First thing we need to do is go into our game files and find our auto exec. If you play on EA, it's simple. Just go to your Apex, hit manage, view properties, and then click browse, and it'll take you straight there. It's going to be the CFG folder. But if you're on Steam, I don't have Apex installed on Steam, but it works for any game. I'll show you guys. You're just going to right click Apex, manage, and browse local files. Click that and it'll take you straight there. And once again, go into your CFG folder and we're going to look for our autoexec.cfg. If you guys don't have one, it's easy to make. You just right click new text document and rename that to autoexec and change the .txt to CFG, hit enter. I already have one made, so I'm gonna click no, but you guys will click yes. And then boom, you have your auto exec made. So you just double click it. And this is the command that's really important that you wanna have in there. This is what's gonna fix your UI. It's gonna help it to align properly. So once you paste that in there, come up here, file, save, you can exit out of that. This one doesn't have to be read only. Then just go back to whatever launcher you're using. If you're on EA, come in here to manage, view properties, and you want to paste in these 4 command lines right here: plus exec auto exec, plus building cube maps 1, matte letterbox aspect goal 0, and matte letterbox aspect threshold 0. That's what's going to let you actually put your game into full screen and use these stretch resolutions. If you don't have these, you're going to have black bars on the top and bottom. And for Steam, it's the same thing. I don't have Apex installed, but I'll show you on Kovacs. You just right click, go to properties and launch options. That's where you would paste it in right there. Make sure you have all 4 of these in here. It's very important. One quick thing before I boot up the game and show you guys, you could change your desktop resolution to match your game resolution. You don't have to do it, but it will make alt tabbing a little bit easier. But your desktop will be in that stretch resolution, so it might be kind of ugly. It's just personal preference. You don't have to. But yeah, now you just want to boot up Apex, but don't click on anything once Apex starts. Just let it load up to the main screen. Don't click continue or anything yet. So just let it load up. Don't go past the screen. Before you do anything, you want to hit alt enter once. That's going to put it into windowed mode. And then you want to hit alt enter again, and that'll put it back into full screen. You know you've done this correctly when you only have the black bars on the bottom. If you have black bars on top and bottom, you either didn't alt enter twice, you probably pressed something else, or you have the command lines in your launcher wrong. But once you guys see the black bars on the bottom, then you can hit continue. And you see here, this is what I was talking about, how the UI isn't aligned properly, and it also affects things in game. I'll jump in and show you guys that real quick. See, you can even see it right here, but just go into the firing range and load up that. So you see how when I go into my inventory, there's this black line down here, you know, it's not aligned properly. That's what that command line in the auto exec that we put in earlier will fix. So the one that I gave you was set to equals. So all I'm going to do is hit my equals sign. The game is going to freeze for a second, but it shouldn't take too long. Now you see if I hit tab again, everything is aligned properly. There's no more black bars. Like, this is how the game is supposed to be in stretch res. The only downside is that you do have to do this every time you start up Apex. But really, it's not too big of a deal because most of you are probably getting in the firing range before you get into an actual game. But just keep that in mind. And then just to show you guys that it's working once again, I'll go to settings, video. As you can see, 1600 by 1080. It says 16 by 10, even though it's not really a 16 by 10 resolution. But if you guys were on 1440 by 1080, it'd say 4.3. That's it for the Nvidia control panel method. Now I want to talk to you guys about the custom resolution utility method, which is going to force display scaling. Very slightly less input delay. It's nothing game changing, maybe a millisecond or so, but your game is going to look a lot more clear. However, I only recommend this for really hardcore players because the benefit you get just doesn't really outweigh all the extra steps that you have to do to get this working right. But if you do want the best of the best, then this method right here is for you. However, if you don't really know what you're doing with your PC, or you're not too familiar with settings, or if you don't really have a newer monitor, you have a cheaper monitor, or you're not sure if you have a good display scaler, I would recommend to just stay away from this. You're probably going to end up black screening your PC, especially if you don't follow step by step. There is a link to a guide below that'll help you fix anything if it gets messed up. I just wanted to let you guys know before we jump into it that this probably isn't for everybody. But the first step, we need to go to the link that I have in the description and download CRU. So just come here where it says download, click on that. We're going to drag it to our desktop and then hit extract all, hit extract, and then the window will pop up. You just want to go into cru.exe. First thing, we need to make sure our main monitor is selected. So mine's a Zowie, so I'll make sure to pick that and make sure it says active. Then come down here to extension blocks. Don't click on the display ID, only click on the detailed resolutions, hit edit, and then select your monitor's native resolution at the highest refresh rate shown in here. So for me, my monitor is 1080p, so it's going to be 1920 by 1080 at 240 hertz. Then come down here to edit. We're not going to change or mess with anything at all. All you do is hit copy, hit OK, and then come here to the top and just delete all of these resolutions. Don't delete the data blocks though, only the resolutions. Then after you have the resolutions deleted, hit OK. Next, come over here. You want to uncheck all of these. So hit none. That'll just uncheck all of them. Then come over here to the standard resolutions tab, click delete all. Then you're going to hit add, click the drop down menu and pick your monitor's native resolution. Mine's 1920 by 1080, and then just leave that at 60 hertz. Next, come up to this and hit delete all. Then we're going to add our new stretched resolution. So like I did in the Nvidia method, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a normal 16 by 10, 1728 by 1080 resolution, but I'll also be showing you guys how to do a more stretched res. And like I did for Nvidia, I'll show you guys how to do 1600 by 1080, but you could put any res in there you want. You could do 1440, you could do 1350, you could do 1080. It's all whatever you want. You can do any res, any of them are possible, but don't mess with any of these in here right now. Just come up here and hit paste. And now we can change the horizontal and vertical if we need to. So like I said, I'm going to be doing 1728. So I enter in 1728. Don't mess with anything else. Just hit OK. And then just for the video, I'm going to add one more. Same thing as before. I'm going to hit paste, but this time I'm going to do 1600 by 1080 and then hit OK. And then that's all you need to do for CRU right now. Next thing we're going to do is double click restart 64xe. Then once you do this, you will get a black screen real quick, but it will pop right back up. However, if it doesn't pop back up, if it's taking a while, then hold down F8 or press it a couple times and you'll go into recovery mode. But for most of you, you should see this window that says graphics driver restarted. So you just hit X. Now we're just going to check real quick to make sure that it works. So we're going to go back into CRU, make sure we select our main monitor, and it should be exactly how you left it before. If it's not, go back to step 1. Then we're going to go into our display settings just to make sure that it's running properly again. Select your main monitor, scroll down a little bit so you get to advanced display, then click on display adapter properties. We're going to go to list all modes. The first one I'm going to test is 1728 by 1080. Now it's important that you choose the resolution along with the hertz that you set in CRU. So we set 240 hertz in there. So that's what I need to select, because if I select 360 hertz, it's not going to be properly display scaled since that's not the one that we made ourselves in CRU. It's not the one that's being forced. So we'll click on 1728 by 1080, hit OK, hit apply, keep changes, go back into our display settings. And as you can see right here, desktop mode and active signal mode are the same. They're both 1728 by 1080. If they're matching, that is how you know display scaling is being done properly. Make sure that these are matching. Then we're going to go find our video config file. Just come down here to Windows search bar and type in saved games. We'll click on that. Go to respawn, apex, local, video config.txt is what we want. Go to properties. Make sure read only is unchecked and hit apply and OK. Then we're going to go into that. And the setting that we're looking for is setting default res and setting default height. So I'm going to change this to 1728. I don't need to change this because 1080 is already in there. We come up here, hit save, X out of it. We go back into the local file, go to properties, read only, apply, and OK, just so that our settings don't get reset if we change something in game. Then just go to whatever launcher that you're using. There are no extra steps to this. 16 by 10 resolutions work flawlessly. So you just want to load it up, hit play. So we're in game. It's running flawlessly. It's 1728 by 1080. Just to double check settings video. We are running at 1728 by 1080. On YouTube, you probably can't see it as well as I can, but it does look a little bit less blurry with the CRU display scaling than it does with the Nvidia control panel method. And then just to double check again, I'm going to go back into my display settings, make sure everything's still working properly. Yep, both 1728 by 1080. All right, we're good to go. Now I'll show you guys how to do extra stretched resolutions with the force display scaling with CRU. Obviously, first thing that we need to do is make sure we have this resolution selected on our display. So go to display adapter properties, list all modes, and then the res that we made in CRU is 1600 by 1080, 240 hertz. I know I've said this a few times, but it is very important to choose the same hertz that you set in CRU. Then hit OK, apply, keep changes, and OK. Go back into our display settings, make sure these are both matching. They're both 1600 by 1080. So that's good. Make sure those match to whatever resolution that you guys put in. Then we're going to go into our video config like we did for the other resolutions. Go into your Windows search bar, type in save games, click on that, respawn, apex, local, video config.txt. Once again, go to properties, make sure read only is unchecked, open it up. Setting default res and setting default height are all that we need to mess with. So for this resolution, I'm doing 1600 by 1080. You guys might be doing 1440, 1350, 1080, 1080, like whatever it is, put that in here. Make sure those match up. Once you do that, hit file, save, X out of it, then come back into properties and make sure it's checked on read only and apply and OK. That's it for this. Now we're going to go into our auto exec, and it's really easy to find that. You just want to go to whatever launcher you're using. I'll show you EA first. So we're just going to click on Apex, go to manage, view properties, and then browse, and it'll take you straight to the game files. And then if you're on Steam, I don't have Apex installed on Steam, but it's the same. You just right click Apex, go to manage and browse local files. Once you're in the game files, you want to go into the CFG folder. This is what we need to mess with right here, autoexec.cfg. If you don't have one, it's easy to make. Just click new, text document, rename it to autoexec and change .txt to .cfg and then hit enter. I already have one, so I'm just gonna hit no. Once you guys have your autoexec made, you just wanna open that up. And the only one that you need to paste in is this one right here, bind US standard. I have it set to equal on UI script reset. This is what makes sure that the UI is aligned properly in game with these more stretched resolutions. Anything below 16 by 10, you're gonna have to do this. But once you have that in here, you just hit file, save, X out of it. Doesn't have to be read only. Then we're gonna go back into whatever launcher you're using. I'll show you EA launcher first. Then you just click on Apex Legends, manage, view properties, and in advanced launch options, you need to have these 4 command lines right here, plus exec auto exec, plus building cube maps 1, plus matte letterbox aspect goal 0, and plus matte letterbox aspect threshold 0. If you don't have these in, these extra stretch resolutions are not gonna work. Once you get those in, you just hit save. And for Steam, you just go to wherever your Apex is, you right click properties, and then in launch options right here, that's where you would put that in. Just copy and paste it. So we should be good to go now. We're gonna launch up Apex, but once it starts, don't do anything. Don't go to the lobby, just sit at the main screen. So once you guys boot it up, you are gonna have black bars on the top and the bottom. And before you click continue and go to the main lobby, you need to hit Alt Enter once. That's gonna put you into windowed, and then hit Alt Enter once again to go back into full screen. And if it works properly, you'll see the black bar only on the bottom of the screen. If you still have black bars on top and bottom, make sure your command lines are set properly in the launchers, and make sure you don't press anything else before you load into the game. But once we have the black bars on just the bottom, we're gonna click continue, and you see how the UI isn't really aligned properly. I'll show you guys how to fix that, but we have to go into the firing range first. You can't do it from the lobby screen. The UI is still misaligned. This is where that auto exec line comes in that we put in earlier. So we're just gonna hit the equals button. It might stutter for just a second, but it'll be running back to normal very fast. But now you see when I hit tab, everything is aligned properly. When you loot death boxes, when you go into your inventory, like it's gonna be how the game should actually be in stretched res. I don't know why this isn't a setting by default, but it is fixed now with all these settings. Yeah, 1600 by 1080. Like I said, you could do literally any resolution you want. 1440 by 1080 is probably gonna be a really popular one for people. You could play 500 by 1080 if you wanted to. It would look really ugly, but you can do it. It's possible. I also want to mention monitor settings real quick. Some monitors have different scaling settings, so I wanted to mention that real quick. So just go into your monitor settings. Yours might look a little bit different because I have a Zowie monitor, but just look for something along the lines of display settings. And for my specific monitor, it's going to be under display mode. Make sure this is set to full or full screen. If it's set to anything else like aspect ratio or 1:1, like it might not line up properly and you may get black bars. Okay, last thing before I end the video, I just wanted to show you guys one more thing, and that's going to be the Nvidia sharpening, not the one in the filters or anything like that. It's done in the control panel, but I'll be showing you guys the better method on how to do it. This will help you a ton in making your game look way more clear and sharp, and just make the visibility so much better. I use it on every game I play stretched in. So first, you just want to open up your Nvidia control panel and go to manage 3D settings, and by default yours will probably look like this. It'll say image scaling. This is not what we want, so you're going to need to download a file from the link in the description, and it's going to download this file right here. All you need to do is run the file, so you just double click it, hit run, hit yes, okay. Now close the Nvidia control panel and go back into it, and as you can see, the option is totally different now. This is the way you want to do it. You don't want to use the other one that uses GPU scaling, but we're not going to set it in here. We're going to go to our program settings. We're going to click the drop down menu, and if you don't see Apex in here, it's really easy to add. Just come over here, click add, and then if you played Apex recently, just scroll until you find it, hit Apex Legends, and then add selected program. But if you can't find it in here, just click browse and then go to wherever your Apex is downloaded. So for me, it's going to be in my G drive, Origin Games, Apex, and then scroll down till you see r5apex.exe. And if you guys can't find where your game is located for some reason, just go into whatever launcher you're using. I don't have Apex on Steam, but I'll just demonstrate for you guys. Just go to manage, browse local files, and then it would pop up with the Apex folder, and then r5apex.exe would be right there. So you would just come up here, click that, copy it, go back into our Nvidia control panel, and then just paste it up there, and then it'll take you to your Apex folder. And just make sure we select R5 Apex. Then come over here to the image sharpening setting, set it to on, and then I like to use anywhere from about 0.2 to 0.4, depending on how stretched the res is. So the more stretched, the more sharpening I would go. So res is like 1440 by 1080, I'd probably use like 0.3, 0.4, but for something like 1728 by 1080, I would probably use 0.2. Just mess around with it until you find something that you like, but then just click OK, come down here to the right, click apply, and then it's set. So every time that you open up Apex, it'll apply sharpening to only Apex, not the other games. This setting just helps me out so much. But anyways, guys, that is pretty much gonna wrap up this video. If it did help you, please remember to leave a like and a comment, as it helps out this video so much. If you guys want to see more helpful content like this in the future, then don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any questions at all, please leave them down in the comments below. But yeah, that's gonna do it from me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.